After moving out of our apartment in Ishikawa Prefecture, this is our first stop on a road trip around Japan. Hakusan, or Mount Haku, is the highest point in Ishikawa Prefecture, and also one of Japan's 3 holy mountains. We went camping, woke up before the sun to hike, saw a few surprises at the top, and it was a great way to kick off our 3-week road trip around Japan. We had been lucky enough to have a view of Hakusan and the surrounding mountains from our apartment for the past couple of years, so reaching the summit had been on our bucket list for a while. This hiking weekend begins on a rainy evening though, as we drove to the Ichinose Visitor Center on the base of Hakusan, starting to rethink our decision to go camping. Weather aside, the camping at Ichinose is really nice since it's convenient, has bathrooms, and a huge parking area. On this night though, everyone who was in the parking lot was just sleeping in their cars. We would have done that too if our car hadn't been full of bikes and luggage.
See, this is the campsite, and I think it's anything in this peach, orangey color.
The rain was supposed to clear up when the sun went down, but it got harder. Since all of the ground was saturated and covered in puddles, we finally decided to set up our tent in the covered dishwashing area. We didn't want to bother anyone since it's a public space at the campground, but since no one else was using the camping area by the time the sun had set, we figured maybe it would be okay. There are people camping in their car in the parking lot, but there's no one in this whole campsite, so we are being kind of nuisances, and we put our tent up in this shelter where you're supposed to wash dishes. I wouldn't do this if there were other people because it's a public space, but this is kind of saving our night. So we're gonna be out of here before the sun comes up, so hopefully it doesn't bother anyone. I was really, really close to just telling Zeb, let's not do this.
You did tell me that.
Yeah. It's 3:50. Early mornings can be rough, but I find that before an adventure like this or a long bike ride, it's always easier to get up because of the excitement you have about the journey ahead. Cicadas are such a symbol of summer in Japan, and it was cool to see this cicada coming out of its shell and letting its wings dry here as we got packed up. We brushed our teeth, ate some quick peanut butter on English muffins for breakfast, and started the 20-minute drive up to the trailhead. The rain had stopped, but the mist left behind in the early morning made the winding, narrow drive up feel mysterious and exciting. Okay, it's 5 a.m. The sun is kind of up, but the clouds are out, so it's kind of nice. It keeps us protected from the sun. We're going to start hiking. If you drive yourself during peak months, you have to stay parked at Ichinose and take a shuttle bus up this to the Bettodeai trailhead. The schedule is on the Hakusan website, and I'll link it in the description. There are a bunch of trailhead options to hike to Hakusan's summit, but Bettodeai seems to be the most popular. No matter which route you take, you have to fill out a hiking registration form before starting your trek. Luckily, this is really easy to do in person since they provide paper forms, even in English, that request basic information about your group. This includes your planned route, equipment you're taking, and emergency contact information. Hakusan is a volcano and the hike is strenuous, so they want to make sure you're prepared and have your information in case of an emergency. Finally, we started our hike on the Sabo-shindo trail at 5 a.m. Turned out really nice. I mentioned earlier that Hakusan is one of Japan's 3 holy mountains. The other 2 are Tateyama in nearby Toyama Prefecture, and Mount Fuji, which is probably Japan's most well-known landmark. We're only a mile and a half, maybe like 2 kilometers in. There's already a bathroom and a water fill-up spot. Very convenient. Hakusan means white mountain, and with all the precipitation that Ishikawa Prefecture gets, it's covered in snow for much of the year. As the snow melts, this mountain becomes an important water source for the rivers and surrounding area. The 4 main rivers that flow down from Hakusan are the Todori, Sho, Nagara, and Kuzuryu rivers. Speaking of water, I was grateful that there were a few places to refill water on the trail, so we only carried a bottle each and didn't have to worry about hiking in with water for the full day. Ah, look at this! I didn't know we'd get a view of this waterfall from here. The Buddhist priest Taicho is said to have been the first person to summit Hakusan back in the year 717. Taicho is also an important figure for the religion Shugendo, which combines parts of Buddhism, Shintoism, and mountain worship. And at the end of my last video, we actually visited the Shirayama Hime Shrine, which is the head shrine for the 2,700 Hakusan shrines across Japan. We got so lucky with the weather this morning. I was really worried about it after last night with all the rain, and the clouds are protecting from the sun a little bit. You can even spend the night here if you reserve a spot in advance. In fact, there are several places to stay on the mountain, besides camping down at Ichinose like we did, which I'll get to in a bit. This mountain sits within Hakusan National Park, which is spread across Ishikawa, Fukui, Gifu, and Toyama prefectures. The national park was created in 1962, and in 1980 it was designated a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. There are over 250 varieties of alpine wildflowers that bloom during July through September. There's a wide variety of animals and birds that call this mountain home as well, including macaques, sea roe deer, weasels, songbirds, and raptors, and even the Asiatic black bear. Where we started, we're gonna stop here and eventually go here and then back. The scenery changed dramatically as we climbed higher and higher. Unfortunately, the rain clouds from the night before were lingering, blocking the view of the surrounding mountains, but it did add a cool element of mystery as we climbed into the mist. Finally, we reached Murodo Visitor Center and Lodge, which is here at the base of Gozengamine Peak, the highest of Hakusan's 3 peaks. I was surprised by how much was going on at this lodge. They even got wine up here, we could celebrate. I am very impressed by the amount of toilets that they've had on this. Not only is it a comfortable place to rest and escape the elements before heading up the final climb to the summit, the Murodo Lodge is also a place to stay, eat, shop, and a post office. We bought some pins here to commemorate the hike, and I was so surprised that a post office existed here. Murodo is operated by the Hakusan Tourism Association, and there are separate buildings with lodging, plus 6 private rooms in the nearby Hakusan Raichoso. It's a good one! This one also, I think. Or this one is cool too. Oh, we should get a memorial badge. I like this one. Of course, I bought some postcards to take home, admired the cute stamps, and even watched the mail start its daily delivery journey on the back of a dedicated hiker. We ate a snack here before heading up to the summit at Gozengamine. Snack time now. The stay here, you have to call to reserve by phone at least 3 days in advance, but space can be limited. You can also camp at Nanryu Sanso, just south of the main peaks of Hakusan. Windy up here. Just outside the lodge, at the start of the trail to the summit, is the Okumiya Shrine, part of the Shirayama Hime Shrine grounds. They have omamori, or amulets, for good luck to protect hikers on their journey. It was crazy how much the weather changed on our hike as we climbed. At the base it was tropical, with the typical humidity of a Japanese summer that had me sweating through my pants. Up here though, I was grateful for my rain jacket to cut the wind, and even found myself wishing I had gloves. That's snow! Tomorrow is August and there's snow. That's so wild! I was so surprised to see snow still here, on July 31st in Japan. There's a hiking loop, the Oike meguri course, that takes you past a few of the small volcanic crater lakes here at the summit, as well as to the highest peak, Gozengamine, at 2,702 meters. There's a lake! Initially, since the visibility was so poor, we figured we would just hike out to one of the lakes and then start the descent. Since we were so close, we decided to just finish the loop and go to the summit, despite the clouds blocking the view, and I'm so glad we did. We weren't really able to see the lakes, unfortunately, and the wind was really fierce. There are 7 small lakes up here, though, and usually they are vibrant teal blue, at least based on the photos. At one point, the fog was so thick that it was hard to tell where the trail was, which was a little spooky. We made it, though, and it was so fun to reach the summit of Hakusan at last. On a clear day, you can see out to some of the surrounding mountain ranges, including Hakuba, Tsurugi, Tateyama, Norikura, and Ontake. There it is! There are also sunrise summits led by Shinto priests when the weather is nice. On these days, a drum will sound at Murodo Lodge an hour before the sun rises. Then the priest and any early rising hikers will climb to the summit and face the sunrise to pray for peace and safety on the trails as they welcome the new day. We weren't able to be there early enough for this sunrise summit ritual, but we could still get an omikuji, or a fortune, at the summit shrine here. Honestly, the hardest part of the hike was getting back down. I've never wanted trekking poles so badly, because halfway down my quad muscles were shaking. Cycling doesn't really transfer well to hiking like I thought it might, but of course it was worth it. The clouds started to clear and the weather warmed back up as we got farther back down the trail. It was cool to see the clouds blowing by to reveal new views of the mountains. I think the switchback section into the gorge was the prettiest part. Yeah, look at this. That's cool. We even saw the postman walking back up to the post office on our way down. That's so cool. Now we're back in the jungly bit. So it's 0.8 left.
Yeah, we go
longer.
out and around.
My poor little leggies. They are hurting. Hakusan is in the southern part of Ishikawa Prefecture, so if you're wanting to get here but you don't have a car, you can take a bus from the east exit of Kanazawa Station to the Ichinose Visitor Center. There's then a shuttle up to one of the main trailheads. I've read that the bus ride to the Visitor Center takes about 2 hours and costs 2,100 yen. If you are taking public transportation, just be aware of the final bus to return to Kanazawa Station. During peak season, the bus leaves the Bettodeai trailhead at 1:30 p.m., but it takes at least 3 hours on average to descend from the summit. It feels so good to be back on the bridge. From here, we started driving out of Ishikawa Prefecture for the first time on our road trip. The next destination would be in the Tohoku region in the north, where we had plans to go camping, biking, and enjoying some big summer festivals. You can subscribe to see those upcoming videos once I edit them, and thanks so much for joining me.